Let's be real. We are all swimming in data. It's everywhere. But knowing how to make sense of it all, that's a genuine superpower. And today, we're going to unlock it. We're going to walk through the essential techniques that let you turn a giant mess of numbers into clear, powerful insights.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off by just, getting a feel for the data. Then we'll get into the tools for summarizing it and figuring out how spread out it is. After that, we dive into the really fun part, finding relationships and trends. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together to actually measure performance. First things first, let's talk about summarizing data. We're starting with the absolute fundamentals, the tools that let you take a huge, kind of intimidating data set and boil it down to a single, easy-to-understand number. These are the workhorses of data analysis. And we're going to start with the mean. You almost definitely know this as the average. It's the go-to starting point for pretty much any analysis because it gives you a quick sense of your data's center point. You just add everything up and divide by how many things you have. Super straightforward. So why do we care about the mean? Well, it answers a really basic but incredibly important question. What's the typical value here? It gives us that first crucial baseline. I mean, if you don't know what's average, how can you know if something is good or bad?
For example, let's say you're looking at daily sales for a company. The average might be 120 units. Just like that, that one number gives you a quick snapshot of their typical day-to-day performance. But what happens if one day there's a massive one-time order for 5,000 units? That one crazy number, that outlier, is going to drag the average way, way up and make it misleading. And that is exactly why we have the median. See, the median doesn't care about the extreme values. It's literally just the middle number in the list. It gives you a much more stable and often truer picture of what's typical.
And our third tool is the mode. This one's the easiest of all. It's just the value that shows up most often. It's perfect for things that aren't numbers, like finding out the most popular t-shirt color or the most common type of customer feedback. So together, the mean, median, and mode give you 3 different, really useful ways of understanding the center of your data.
Okay, knowing the center of your data is a great start, but it's really only half the story. We also need to ask, how spread out is everything? Are all the numbers clustered tightly together, or are they all over the map? Answering that tells us a lot about consistency. And the main tool we use for this is standard deviation. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. Just think of it as a number that measures spread. It basically tells you how far, on average, each data point is from the mean. It's the key to understanding just how predictable your data is. So, it's actually pretty simple. A low standard deviation means your data is nice and tight, consistent, predictable. A high standard deviation, well, that means your data is kind of wild, all over the place, and a whole lot less predictable. All right, now we get to the really fun stuff. This is where we start playing detective and uncover the hidden stories, the patterns, and the connections in our data. This is where we go from just describing what happened to understanding why. One of the simplest ways to do this is with frequency analysis. I mean, just look at this donut chart. You don't need to do any math. You can see instantly that product A is the clear winner at 40%. It's a quick, visual insight. We can do the same thing with a comparative analysis. You put the sales numbers for Istanbul and Ankara right next to each other, and bam, it is immediately obvious which region is performing better. This helps you focus your energy where it's needed most. But a single snapshot in time can be deceiving, right? The real story is often in how things change. And for that, we use trend analysis. It's all about looking at data over a period of time to spot patterns. Are things going up, down, or staying the same? Take a look at this simple timeline. You don't need to be a data scientist to get the story here. Sales are clearly going up from January to March. That tells us that whatever we're doing, something is starting to work. And that leads us to maybe one of the most powerful questions you can ask with data. Are two things related? Does one thing change when another thing changes? Like if we spend more on ads, do sales actually go up? Answering that is a total game changer. We measure this relationship with something called correlation. And what's really elegant about it is that you get this single number from -1 to +1. A +1 means they move perfectly together. A -1 means they move in perfect opposition. And a 0? No connection at all. It's that simple. But, and this is probably the most important rule in all of data analysis, so listen up. You have to remember this. Correlation does not equal causation.
Just because ice cream sales go up at the same time as shark attacks doesn't mean buying a cone causes a shark to bite you. There's a hidden factor, right? It's called summer. So to get past these surface-level findings and avoid those traps, we need to dig deeper. A really powerful way to do that is to slice our data into smaller, more specific groups or segments and see how they compare. A technique called cross-tabulation is perfect for this. Now look at this table. We can see a really interesting pattern here. Overall, product A might look more popular, but when we break it down by gender, we see that men strongly prefer product B while women prefer product A. That's a huge insight we would have totally missed otherwise. And that's the whole idea behind segment-based analysis. It's not just about knowing what people are doing, it's about understanding who is doing it. When you break your data down into these subgroups, you can finally start to understand the why behind their actions. And that is absolutely critical for smart marketing. So we have all these individual tools in our kit, but how do they actually work together in a real-world scenario? Let's put all the pieces together and look at what a typical analysis workflow looks like from start to finish. This flowchart lays it out perfectly. You start by just describing the data. What's the average? Then you compare different groups. You look for trends over time, and you search for relationships using correlation. But that final step is the most important one, and it's all human. You have to interpret what it all means and turn that data into an actual decision. So there you have it, a powerful starter kit for making sense of data. Remember, every tool we talked about answers a different kind of question. The real magic happens when you know which question to ask. And that leaves us with one final thought for you. When you look at the data in your own life or your own work, what's the first analysis you would do, and what story are you hoping to find?